Certainty. Certainty. That's a funny word, you know. It's often the prize or the thing, the prize I call it, I guess, that people want to have. They demand it before they take the first step of doing something, or at least before they really commit much. You know, I dabble a little bit before they really commit. They want to have certainty. And what is that? Well, that's knowing that whatever it is you're going to do is going to work, right? Is it going to work? I laugh because there's no certainty. There's no absolute certainty. Maybe, you know, in the divine is certain, but everything that we do or that we create is in an uncertain world. And so lots of times people say things like, well, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's actually true. You've got to get, and it's not supposed to be a paradox, but the idea of certainty is a myth because anything beyond, you know, if I drop a penny, it will fall to the desk. Okay, with something small like that, you can have it. But certainty about things in life, people get married, till death do you part, or forever, or whatever they say, and they believe it. And then it doesn't happen. What happened to the certainty? They place a bet by buying some stock in a particular company, and they just know it's going to go up, and then something changes and it doesn't. And the certainty is gone. And I'm a coach, you know that. And I also help people write their books and publish books and create products and services. And, you know, one of my missions is to create 3,000 millionaires. And I already have some. In fact, it's 3,000 millionaires and 300 deca millionaires. And I've got some of that done, but certainly not in those numbers yet. And I have set goals. I do not have certainty about the dates and when that will happen. I do have absolute certainty that it will happen because I'm not going to quit until it does. But certainty is this elusive idea. Most paths reveal themselves only after we start moving. You know, you look down a trail and it turns a little, and you don't know what's beyond the turn unless you've walked it before, right? A funny thing happened the other day. Joy and I were over at the Safeway here not too far away, and that's literally 2 kilometers from our house. It was not raining. As we got in the car, it started to rain. Then it started to hail. And before we got to the end of the parking lot, it was a microburst. You literally could not see 5 feet in front of you. The rain was sideways. The hail was sideways. The hail balls got bigger. It was scary. And getting that 2 kilometers to home was traumatic. We were kind of figure if we should drive off the road somewhere. It was crazy. So, and it lasted maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes. I had no idea that was going to happen. And so certainty is precious, but rare. And so what do we do with that? That's true. There's very rarely certainty. It's a myth. What people usually want is some kind of a specific guarantee. So I want you to think about the online business. And I don't know what your business is, if you've got something you do, including online marketing or anything else, or if you do all stuff in, you know, physical bricks and mortar sales or whatever. Maybe you have a job. You take a job and you do a good job thinking, okay, there'll be opportunity for promotion and growth. You know what the 3 things are that make people stay at a job? 1 is opportunity, 2 is recognition, and 3 is money. Money isn't till the 3rd place. People want to know that if they're trying something new, especially something public or necessary or expensive or vulnerable or potentially embarrassing, that it's not gonna like blow them up. And you don't know that. You can't know that. Okay? Certainty is imaginary, but movement is real. So as we talk about this today for a minute, I'm going to call certainty the magnificent imaginary creature that we keep trying to capture before we do anything interesting. Certainty is like a unicorn with a safety vest. Everybody talks about it and nobody's actually seen one. But apparently, we're supposed to wait for it before writing a book or starting a business or having that conversation or changing careers or making the offer or recording the video or asking for help or leaving the swamp we talked about the other day or doing anything that might cause another human to raise an eyebrow. People say, I just got to be sure. Certain of what? Certain that it will work? Certain that nobody will laugh? Certain your money will come back? Certain your family will approve or the audience will understand? Certain you won't make a mistake? Or that your first attempt will somehow look like the polished version you've been imagining for 17 years? That's not certainty. That's some kind of a crazy guarantee. Life misplaced the guarantee department. There's nowhere where you can go get a refund on that guarantee. So what most people actually want, they don't want certainty. They use that word, but what they really want is protection. From what? From discomfort. They want assurance that we can take the risk without experiencing any of the sensations associated with risk. People want to be visible without being seen. They want to speak without being judged and create without doing a crappy first version or lead without anybody disagreeing or sell without hearing no, no, no 1,000 times or love without being vulnerable or climb without sweating or slipping or doubting or developing cramps in your legs. In other words, we want the result without the human experience that's necessary to produce it. That's adorable. It's funny, too, but it's not how anything works. Certainty is a polite word we use when we're terrified of embarrassment, struggle, failure plopping on your face. I'm waiting for clarity because I'm afraid to look stupid doesn't sound nearly as spiritual. We say, I'm discerning the timing, when what we really mean is, I would like the universe to remove all risk and send me a notarized letter. I had a client once who said they wanted to file a lawsuit against God. Life doesn't reveal itself from the parking lot. The paths don't show themselves before they begin. They reveal themselves when you start walking. Now, sometimes we have this amazing experience and we see in a flash of brilliance and light a beautiful final picture, but we're still way down here at the bottom of the mountain. And you can study the map. You can talk to people who have traveled. You can pack well and check the weather and wear the right shoes, and all that's smart and good. But you know what that's like? That's like you're thinking about going to a restaurant, and you've heard good things about it, and you study the menu and how they prepare the food and everything, and it looks extraordinary, and all of that does nothing to prepare you for the actual ordering and eating. You can't learn the trail by looking through the windshield. You can't become a musician by reading the manual for the piano. You can't write a book by studying notebook brands. You can't build a business by endlessly redesigning the logo or discover whether your message matters by keeping it private. Somewhere, your beautiful preparation becomes decorative avoidance, if that's how we approach things. Motion creates information, data. Did it work? Did it not work? Who responded? Who didn't? Did I fall on my face? Was it embarrassing? Was it exciting? The first step, literally the very first step, tells you something that all the planning in the world can't tell you. The first conversation reveals what people need. The first offer shows you what's unclear. The first video teaches you how you sound. I've had a recording studio for over 40 years. And without fail, people that haven't recorded themselves before, when they hear their singing voice or speaking, but it's usually most profound with singing, they say, I don't sound like that, because they've never actually done this before. The first chapter exposes what the book's really about, or whether you're clear about what you're thinking. The first client reveals whether the framework is weak. And the first failure shows us what we need to change. We can't have that info in advance because it doesn't exist yet. It's created through movement. Now, certainty, sometimes people think about it as retrospective fiction. One of the funniest things we do is We look backward and pretend the path was obvious. And everybody says, oh man, I knew it. I knew it. No, you didn't. You hoped it. You believed it. You had a sense and you made a choice. You acted with faith, but you did not know the outcome with certainty. After a successful business grows, people tell the founder it was inevitable. It was not inevitable while payroll was due and the phone was not ringing. After the book sells, people say the message was obviously needed. It was not obvious while the author was starting at chapter 4, wondering whether the manuscript was stupid. After a marriage deepens, people say they were meant to be together. Perhaps they were, but it did not remove the 1,000 moments where both people had to choose without a guarantee of how the other would respond. Certainty is sometimes a story we manufacture after the fact because uncertainty makes us nervous. So we tidy up history and remove the doubts and edit out the ugly parts. We make the staircase look like an escalator. You know what? And then somebody compares their messy beginning to our polished mythology and decides they're not ready. That's so unhelpful. That's why I say so much. The most important thing you have or I have is the story of your own becoming. DreamBuildWriteIt.com. Go there. Let me help you. It doesn't even cost anything except some time. Let me help you mine your life for the most powerful gift you have, to give the world, to change the world, and to make money and build a business. Faith is not certainty. If you are certain, faith is unnecessary. Faith, religious context or not, it's choosing the next clean step without knowing the outcome. It's not pretending everything's going to happen exactly the way you want, because it isn't. Faith is trusting the process. It's trusting the movement, truth, love, effort, divine guidance, forgiveness, an honest creation, trusting that they're worthwhile when the final shape is hidden. When I started building my coaching business, it has had many changes in emphasis and adjustment, in skill, in understanding as I went along. The only thing I knew is I'm building this. I didn't know what the outcome was going to look like. I expect as it goes over time, it changes more. In the last 6 months, it's changed a lot. 6 months ago, I didn't know I was going to start a university. It was about 6 months ago I said that. I'm creating the Ultimate Life University. I wouldn't have ever even imagined such a thing 3 years ago. There is a childish version of faith, and I don't mean childlike because, we're told we have to become as little children, but there's a childish version that says, if I believe hard enough, God will give me exactly the prize I ordered. That turns the divine into a cosmic vending machine with clouds. Real faith is deeper. It says instead, I'm going to act in alignment with what I know, even though I don't know everything. And for me, I refine that more. I even say, even though I don't feel like I know anything. But here's what I do know. I trust the path enough to walk and keep walking every day in the face of whatever. Not because I know for sure the ending or control it, because I know the next step is true. It's real. And you can know that. And it's also much less convenient than magical thinking. Now, there's something that I call the embarrassment tax. Okay, we're going to talk about embarrassment because it runs a lot more of the world than you might believe. Sometimes people call it the imposter syndrome or whatever. A lot of people are not afraid of death, and they're afraid of posting a video that gets 12 views. They're not afraid of eternal judgment. They're afraid their cousin from high school is going to see the launch and think, oh, look what they're doing now. They're afraid the business will bomb and people will say, see, you should have kept your job. They're afraid people will know that the business failed and therefore this and therefore that and make fun of you or judge or whatever. That's the embarrassment tax. And here's the truth. Every single meaningful creation charges that tax. You have to pay the tax. Your first attempt might be clumsy. Your first talk may wander, and you might get lost. You might forget. You might confuse people. You might write a book that says things that you'd write differently later. Your first live may have crappy lighting or crappy sound, or your first workshop may have nobody, or one or two or three. I know a very accomplished speaker. He tells a story. First workshop, rented a hotel in Las Vegas, in the downtown area, not on the Strip, but still a hotel with a conference room in Vegas, 2 or maybe 3. I know another very experienced, very successful speaker held a workshop. The only people that were there were his kids and his coach, and that's it. You may do something and have 3 people, and one of them is related to you, and another one maybe clicked the wrong link. That actually doesn't matter, because now you're in motion. You have exercised the faith. You put the stake in the ground. Embarrassment is survivable, and regret is way more expensive. The person who laughs, I want you to think about this. The person who laughs at your beginning is not building anything. Hear that, because builders recognize builders. Those who are doing recognize beginnings. Musicians recognize scales. Authors recognize ugly pages. I still do piano exercises every day. Why? Because I got to keep my fingers moving. And if somebody hears me practicing Hanon exercises, I don't care. It's the price. It's the price. Entrepreneurs recognize awkward first offers. So there's 2 points to this next story. I have a friend I haven't talked to for several years, but we were going to do a deal, and he organized a big event, and he organized people to market it, and it was going to fill a room, and each of us were going to speak and make offers and everything. So we showed up at the event, and then not a single chair. Nobody was there. So what we did instead is we all gave our talks and recorded them anyway, because it was like pipe and drape and stage and the whole thing. It wasn't like a small place. 500 chairs, pipe and drape, lights, video, everything, and not a soul. Not a soul. So we did our thing anyway, and then the guy that was putting it on came up to me and said afterwards, "This is your first sell from stage, isn't it?" And I thought, wow, was it that bad? And so, it didn't hurt me any. Nobody was there. That hurt him because I hadn't funded it. But mine was so not professional in terms of selling from stage that he said, "That's your first one." Blessing for me, not for him. But it was interesting. Bomb, flat on my face. Only spectators demand that the beginning look like mastery. So I want to invite you to do something. Get in gear. The title of, if I had a title today, it would be Stop Asking for Certainty Before You Get in Gear. The problem is not your lack of vision. You have a vision. Certainly not your intelligence. You're a genius. It's certainly not resources, because you're full of capability. Certainly not your potential or your connection to the divine. Sometimes the car's fine, the engine's running, and the road's open, and the map is plenty good, and we're sitting revving the engine in park, waiting for divine confirmation that moving forward is going to involve no bumps. Not happening. So I invite you to take an action today. Put it in gear. You can steer when you're moving. Ready, fire, steer. That matters, because a stationary vehicle, guess what? It has enormous theoretical potential, enormous possible direction. It can point anywhere. You can discuss routes and imagine destination and admire other cars going by, but it's not moving. You know what? We get hooked on that, and we love, theoretical potential because it cannot fail. Think about it. As long as it stays in the realm of possibility, it can't fail. But it can't arrive either. You know that. Responsibility or being responsible doesn't mean frozen. You can still be responsible and take moves. Now, I'm not suggesting recklessness or don't leave this live and say, Kellen told me to sell the house, buy a llama farm, and launch a cryptocurrency before lunch. I didn't say anything of the kind. Wisdom matters, planning matters, due diligence matters, counsel, testing, boundaries all matter. But responsible action and frozen fear, guess what? They're not the same thing. There is a point where additional research produces no meaningful increase in wisdom. It's just a camouflage for fear. It's a decoration on delay. It just gives you a thicker folder. Another certification doesn't make you more ready. It will make you professionally certified in postponement. Right? There is a place where asking 27 more people is not discernment. It's polling until somebody gives your fear permission to stay home. Preparation needs to lead to movement. If preparation becomes the permanent substitute for doing stuff, it's joined the opposition. So here's the real answer, maybe to the question that's beneath the question. What if it does turn out not the way you want it? It fails. Because it might not. In fact, it probably won't to start with. The offer may fail. The book may not sell immediately. The relationship may not repair. The audience may not understand. The investment may take longer or turn upside down. The first path may be wrong. You may have to change direction. And that doesn't mean the action was a mistake. I've done that 100 times. The result of faithful action, whether it's the result you want or not, doesn't matter. Sometimes the result is learning. Sometimes the result is skill or discernment or a new relationship. Sometimes it's the collapse of an illusion that you were holding on to. Sometimes it's discovering what not to do or what not to build or what not to talk about. Sometimes the first road exists just to train us for the right road. We're too far. I'm sorry, we're not too far. We're far too quick is what I was thinking. We call something a failure way too fast because it didn't follow the plan. We had a plan. I'm going to do this and get this outcome. When it doesn't, we call it a failure, and it's not. I have a book that I'm going to write in 2027 toward the end of the year, a year and a half from now, and it's called Failure, the Art and Science of Challenging Boundaries. Nothing is a failure. You either win when you try or you learn. Maybe the path is not failing, but it's speaking. Okay? So I want to give you an alternative. Certainty, we think, is desirable, and it's a myth. Sometimes people say, can you promise me an outcome? Commitment says, what am I willing to do no matter what the temporary outcome is? Certainty wants control. Commitment creates capacity. Certainty says, I'll go when the fear is gone, and commitment says, fear is going to be there, I know it, but it's not driving the car. You can sit in the back. Certainty waits for confidence, and commitment produces confidence through action. You know that. Think about some examples in your own life. It's why committed people look certain from the outside, because they're absolutely certain they're taking the next step. They're not certain of the outcome, but they're decided that they're going. I'm going, no matter what. A dedicated person moves while questions remain. And, I say, love yourself enough to get good at what you do. Love yourself enough to trust that your voice matters. Your place matters. What you have to share matters. Your business matters. Somebody who's decided can learn from mistakes without collapsing. A dedicated person can change tactics without abandoning the mission. A committed person doesn't need every step illuminated because the direction's chosen. They just need the next one. I call it the next true or real or faithful step. You don't need certainty today. Neither do I. We just need the next real step, not the dramatic step that proves you're filled with courage, and not the giant leap over a building that makes great social media fodder. Just the next honest step. Send the message, open the document, make the offer, record the video, have the conversation. Tell the truth to yourself. Reach for help, upward or outward. Schedule the meeting. Apply for the thing. Tell the truth to yourself. Create version 0.1. Make the apology. Do whatever it takes to get in gear. Then let the movement be your teacher. So don't ask for certainty before you get in gear, okay? Because that is mostly a fiction. I think it's completely a fiction, okay? What you're demanding, if we're demanding a guarantee that the chosen action is going to produce the preferred outcome without embarrassment, loss, criticism, delay, pain, or discomfort, there's no such thing. Life's guarantee department is gone. And thank God, because if every outcome were guaranteed, what? Agency would be unnecessary. It would be theater. Courage would be fake. Faith would be a decoration. And becoming would be impossible. The story and process of your becoming, on mine too, only matters with action. You don't know how it's going to turn out. Nobody else does either. That's not a flaw in the process. It's a design element. It is the process. Do the best you can with the plan. Listen, pray, prepare, seek counsel, check the labels, check the brakes, wear the shoes, and learn what you can. And stop polishing the steering wheel. Put it in gear. Move on the path. Let the path reveal itself to you because you're moving and looking. And because you love yourself and you know the life you're asking certainty to guarantee may already be right around the corner. I say this all the time. You can create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, but not if you wait. It's something we create and build. I love you. Thank you for being with me. I'll see you tomorrow.